Good morning. It is October 12th, 2023. And I had it at the bottom. All right, so the New York Times Daily Newsletter. Today's propagandist is David Leonhardt. So we're going to be covering Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris's biggest challenge, existing, doing anything. She's like the most hated vice president in history, the least qualified, the most terrible, failed at everything. I mean, this is the worst administration since Buchanan. Steve Scalise and influencers. Lovely speeches. You mean cackling? God, she's the most embarrassing ever. Everybody just groans when she starts speaking. As part of his reporting on Vice President Kamala Harris for a story in the Times Magazine, my colleague Astide Herndon had a revealing conversation with Jamal Simmons, a former Harris aide. As Simmons noted, Harris rose through California politics as a prosecutor. No, she rose by sleeping with mayors and government officials. That's how she got her job. She was either the district attorney of San Francisco or the state attorney general for 13 straight years. Yeah, after sleeping with, what was his name, Willie Brown. To get elected in these positions, lawyers usually do not need to lay out a broad vision of society in the way that governors or members of Congress do. Prosecutors tend to focus on specific policies, while other politicians focus on reflecting and shaping the zeitgeist. Often in the White House, national leaders have to base their arguments on emotion and gut, Simmons said, and a prosecutor, that's not their job. Harris was an effective prosecutor. No, she wasn't. She was terrible. She used people. She literally had people in jail as slave labor. She kept people in prison longer than they were supposed to. She was awful at what she did. As a district attorney, she lifted the office's conviction rate. Yeah, because she prosecuted people. Wow. And wrote a book on whose title popularized the phrase smart on crime. As Attorney General, she cracked down on for-profit colleges, mortgage lenders, and drug cartels, and had slaves. After winning U.S. Senate seat in 2016, she used her interrogation skills to confront Trump administration officials and nominees in hearings and embarrassed herself. My favorite, which is my first post on Twitter, is Kamala Harris when she was talking about at the Kavanaugh hearings. She said the FBI does not make conclusions. Really? So they didn't conclude that Hillary Clinton's illegal use of a classified server wasn't just a mistake and wasn't a prosecutor, and Comey didn't say no reasonable prosecutor would choose to prosecute? Yeah, the FBI does most certainly do that. You mean like with Hunter Biden and the fake laptop lies? Yeah. But Harris still struggles with what George H.W. Bush, one of her predecessors in the vice presidency, once inartfully called the vision thing. Yeah, she doesn't have a vision, that's for sure. She's like a moron, and every time she cackles, it's just so embarrassing. She often speaks in platitudes. Yeah, that's good. That create grist for mocking Fox News video. Yeah, as an example. And this is, look, they even use one of her dumber quotes. It's time for us to do what we've been doing, and that time is every day. When Astad asked her to talk about her vision for American society, she showed little interest. I think you have to be more specific, Harris replied at one point, because I'm not really into labels. She has nothing. She's the most embarrassing. Like, she will not run either. In some ways, Harris' much discussed political problems are simply part of a political truism. The vice presidency can be a miserable job. One of Franklin Roosevelt's vice presidents, John Nance Garner, said it wasn't worth the pitcher of warm piss. Lyndon Johnson loathed the role. Other vice presidents had otherwise little in common with one another, including Mike Pence, Al Gore, Walter Mondale, and Hubert Humphrey, have found it to be career dead end. Joe Biden would probably have joined that list, but for the chaos of the Trump presidency that made it possible a resurrection, and the media that helped him win and covered. I mean, he didn't even run a campaign. He campaigned from the basement. The media just attacked Trump for 4 years, and that was his whole campaign, was I'm not Trump. Yet Harris is not a typical vice president. No, she's the worst probably ever. She's the first female, no one cares. Black person, no one cares. An Asian American person, no one cares to hold the job. She serves alongside the nation's oldest president, and he's now running for re-election at age 80. One way or the other, she seems likely to be a prominent presidential candidate 4 years from now. No, and no. She is hated. She has no chance of becoming a president. She dropped out when she had 2% support polling. She was awful and continues to be awful. She is the most hated vice president in all of history. More hated than Spiro Agnew. More hated than absolutely every single one of them. that ever existed. She has the lowest approval ratings ever. She's continued to embarrass herself. She cannot ever do anything from here because all she can do is go sleep with someone. Her defenders often argue, what defenders? That the criticisms of her stem from racism and sexism. Nope, has nothing to do with her being a woman or her being any skin color or whatever ethnicity she's pretending to be. It's just she's a terrible person. And they have a point. No, they don't. White male politicians don't receive that kind of online hate she does. Yes, they do. Have you met Donald Trump? Have you heard of Donald Trump? He receives constant hate daily. And men who are known to be difficult bosses are not subject to the gossipy mean boss stories Harris has been. That's because men who are mean bosses are typically fair, and they didn't sleep their way to the top like she did. But it can be simultaneously true that Harris has faced discrimination and that she creates some of her own problems. Nope, she creates her own problems. She doesn't face discrimination. That's just a red herring. As I read Astid's story, I keep thinking what Harris's biggest problem was her unwillingness to help voters understand what she believed. She doesn't know what she believes. Her inability to do so in the 2020 presidential campaign, which she entered as a frontrunner and then dropped out before voting even began because she was so terrible. She spoke dismissively to Astid about lovely speeches and fancy speeches and contrasting them with her emphasis on actually doing the work, which she didn't do anything. What work has she done? Nothing. As Elena Calabro wrote in The Atlantic, a consistent theme of Harris's career has been her struggle to tell her own story, to define herself and her political vision for votes in clear, memorable terms. That's a fair criticism. Harris has several options for doing so. She could, as most eventual presidents do, signal to swing voters that she is more moderate than her party. Harris' history as a prosecutor, for instance, could allow her to address voters' concerns about crime and immigration. Instead, she has distanced herself from her own record while also failing to embrace a clearly progressive image. Yeah, of course she's distancing herself from her own record. She had literal slaves. How's that going to work? Who is she and what does she believe in? Nothing. Even Democrats who want to like her often aren't sure. Nobody wants to like her. They just want her to go away. Harris seems to view these questions as superficial and separate from the serious business of governing, which she doesn't do. But most voters don't follow the minutiae of politics and policy. They look for leaders who can express a set of values and priorities, sometimes, yes, through lovely speeches, that resonate with their own lives. Harris has made it far into politics without quite having done so, but her chances of taking the final step would significantly increase if she tried to meet voters where they are, which she can't. As Estad writes, a year away from the election and a heartbeat away from the presidency, Harris is an avatar for the idea of representation itself, a litmus test for political power and its inherent limits. That is just a meaningless set of phrases. Absolutely abysmal. Let's see. The latest in the Israel-Hamas war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Benny Gantz, an opposition leader, formed an emergency unity government and pledged to crush and eliminate Hamas, which seems to me like kind of why this whole thing started. The Israeli military said its troops were massed at the border with Gaza, and both sides are bracing for an escalating war. Follow the updates here, and that's going to be bad. Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, has arrived in Tel Aviv to do what? Cry some more and make a fool of himself? We pull them all out dead. Israeli strikes on schools and hospitals in Gaza have spared no one. Parents say their children are under the rubble. Well, why? Here's a question. Why aren't you leaving? Because Israel is warning them. Like, Hamas builds its military facilities underneath hospitals and schools, which is a war crime and illegal. Israel says, we're going to take them out. We tell people through text messages, through other bulletins and other methods, that they should leave. And this is where we're coming. And then Hamas says, no, stay in there. We need you to die. Hamas wants its people to die because then they go and turn around and use these as sympathy votes. So Israel is doing what Hamas wants, and this is probably going to end badly. Israel blocked all electricity and fuel from entering Gaza, and backup generators in a hospital in Gaza are nearly exhausted. They are exhausted. They went black this morning. Gaza is now entirely without power. They're now 3 days without water, so we're going to have people desperate soon. Tomorrow is their day of uprising. It's going to be bad. Israelis have fled villages near Lebanon, afraid the border could become another front if Hezbollah fully enters the conflict, which Israel should probably stop shelling Lebanon. That's not a good idea. Let's see. More on the Hamas attacks. For some of the victims of the Hamas invasion on Saturday, help took more than 20 hours to arrive. Others died waiting for rescue. It's just horrible. Shattering Israel's sense of security was a major goal for Hamas, which they effectively did. A retired Israeli general drove into the battle zone armed only with a pistol and organized a confused group of soldiers into a fighting unit. And so this just shows, what this has done is shown, one, your security, your fencing doesn't do as much as you think it does. High-tech solutions don't necessarily work. You have to have the actual boots on the ground, which Israel did not. They had minimal actual soldiers, and they were relying on sensors to do things. Well, sensors only do so much. They just tell you that, hey, someone's blowing a hole through the fence, and by the time they responded, it was too late. This also shows that civilians must be armed in order to effectively fend off that kind of attack. So I don't ever want to hear anyone say that you don't need 30 rounds in a magazine. Yes, you do. This shows exactly why you need those rounds. International response. I've not given up hope for bringing these folks home. Biden said of rescuing Americans that Hamas had taken hostage. One of the missing Americans is likely gravely injured. Donald Trump criticized Netanyahu and Israeli intelligence in a speech, which, they pretty much should, because they were warned. They were warned by Egypt, and they had some other inklings, so this was an intelligence failure. Volodymyr Zelensky made a surprise visit to NATO headquarters to urge the alliance to continue to support Ukraine, even as the West turns to focus on Israel. The war is over, man. The Ukraine war is over. Russia has the land that it wants. It's fortified it. There's no taking it back. The war has ended. Misinformation, including clips from a video game, is adding chaos to online conversation about Israel and Hamas. To an extent, that's true, but that's, some of it is the left is lying and getting caught lying. I've seen some videos from people trying to say that some video from Ukraine was in Gaza, video from Argentinian celebrations with fireworks with Gaza, and it's like, no. An NYU law student lost a job after sending a message blaming Israel for the Hamas attacks, a sign of divide on campuses. Let's see. Republicans nominated Steve Scalise to be the next House Speaker, narrowly choosing him over Jim Jordan, but postponed the full vote because of bitter party divisions. And it's because Steve Scalise is a uniparty guy. He's basically the same as Kevin McCarthy. Most people think that. And so it's you kind of did exactly what they were expecting. 6 New York Republicans said they would try to expel Representative George Santos from the House after Santos was charged with more federal crimes this week. Good luck on that. He's funny. The Biden administration will resume construction of a Trump-era border wall. Local officials said it was unlikely to quickly reduce migrant arrivals. No, that's not true. Nobody said that. Nobody said that at all. You show me the local official that said the wall won't help cut on illegals. That is a flat-out lie. The United Automobile Workers expanded its strike to a Ford plant in Kentucky. Good luck on that. That's just going to, all you're doing there is just making prices go higher, making life worse for everyone. ExxonMobil said it was buying a big shale producer, a bet that U.S. energy policy will not significantly move away from, there's no such thing as fossil fuels. That's a lie. They're made from plants and they're renewable. Other big stories. Winning ticket for the $1.8 billion Powerball jackpot has been sold in California. All right. Oh, well. I'm glad someone won, but man, the last 3 big jackpots have gone to California. Can we get some love to other states? Somewhere, like anywhere, just not California. Come on, man. The novelist Salman Rushdie will write a memoir about the attack that seriously injured him last year. The title is Knife Meditations After an Attempted Murder. Might be a good one. Scientists have used gene editing technology to create chickens more resistant to bird flu, which is horrific that they're doing. We should stop doing this crap. There's huge consequences for it. NASA offered a first glimpse of the space dirt it retrieved from an asteroid, including clay minerals that might explain how Earth got its water. Earth got its water from space. We know that. The high school class of 2023 received the lowest ACT test scores since 1991, a 6th year of consecutive decline, showing that our schools are getting worse and worse, and yet we want to keep doing the same crap that we've been doing. We make human drivers take safety tests. We should do the same for self-driving cars. Let's see. Explore the countryside of northern France on a 19th century steam railway. That'd be kind of fun. Sports. Kidfluencers on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. Children are singing, dancing, and cooking and making a lot of money. Anastasia, I'm not going to even try. 9 is the star of a channel with over 100 million subscribers. Wow. 100 million subscribers? Damn. For a 9-year-old? Ryan Kaji, 12, has parlayed his stardom into a toy line. In the U.S., though, there are a few legal protections to ensure children's earnings remain their own. Young activists are trying to change that. It's because they don't know what to do with them. You know, and this too is, I understand why people get like really depressed and, you know, are down on our culture right now because, yeah, a 9-year-old kid has 100 million followers, a 12-year-old has a toy line and making millions of dollars. And yet you tell people hard work is going, you know, just work hard, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and watch this kid who makes millions of dollars, more money than you'll ever make. And they're not even trying. You know, you say hard work will be rewarded, except I don't know a lot of millionaire janitors or sewer workers or bricklayers. You know, I know that they get paid a decent amount of money, but they're certainly not what we would call well paid. And 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now, so it's a dire time. More on culture. Jada Pinkett Smith said she and Will Smith separated in 2016, but they have not divorced. Does Will know that? Was he informed? Did he know that his wife left him in 2016? I'll bet not. That fake slap really means a lot less now, doesn't it? I don't think it was real. I think it was staged. Stephen Sondheim's Merrily We Roll Along was a debacle. A Broadway revival starring Jonathan Groff has turned into something great. Our critic writes. Next week's speaker is Still Anyone's Guest. Late night hosts mocked dysfunction in the house. Pile of sweet potato soup. Wow. Okay, know this day in history today. So I'm out.